Hey, look at that, folks. It says that we are live. Welcome to the Ask Me Anything call with LifterLMS. Let's do our intro, and I'll see you here in just a moment. Hey, folks, it's really good to see you. We've already got folks joining the live. So if you were sitting in some kind of waiting room waiting for me to open this thing up, I tried to get here on time. I was about 30 seconds late. I was on a really engaging podcast just now. Matt Medeiros, Mark Zemansky, Jonathan Denwood, myself, we were all having a great discussion about WordPress and things like that. And I jumped over here so we could run this call as well. And welcome Magic Emily Middleton to the call. So with that, you've got both of us here. So you've got myself, Kurt, you've got Emily. We are jazzed to take your questions live. So if you would, go ahead and, kind of tell us who you are, where you're from, put a comment, whatever channel you're watching on, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, whatever, put a comment in. Hopefully we'll see it come through. And that would be, who you are, where you're from. And then if you have any questions for us, we take those questions in the chat. Go ahead and dump a question in there, and we can address it, possibly do a screen share, walk you through a process, something like that. That said, let me shift the focus. Emily, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I am just getting into the week, doing a lot more YouTube videos, a lot more content about LMS plugins, and also just WordPress in general, answering questions that come in. That's really all I've been up to this week. How about you?
I don't want to sound like I need people's mercy or anything like that, but I'll tell you, it's been a week. I hurt my back last week doing the move, getting things done. As you can see, I got more of a space behind me now with more things to distract us all. So that's been moving forward. Then my wife threw her back out, and I had to help her around the house. She was literally like on the sofa, couldn't move for days, 2-3 days. And then had some work to do with my daughter down in Wichita, and it's just been a big week. And we took a really large project. It was a LifterLMS project, and we gave access to the client to try and run through it as a student. This is it's a large project. There's lots of courses, lots of students will be going through it. Probably about 5,000 a month is what we're estimating will probably go through this site. And so we gave the site to the client for the student experience to go through it. And I'm very proud to say that the feedback came back super, super positive. And we did things like we had to customize a dashboard, and we had to do some things, and all of that was really well received. So that's good. And then I have another client that I thought we would have had their website done last Thanksgiving, and we had a lot of things in place last November. But they, life happens, and they changed their plans, and they changed their strategy and their agenda a little bit. So literally in the last week to 10 days, we literally stripped out all the work we did last November for multiple courses and references to multiple courses and access plans. And we stripped all that out of the website, and we put in their single course that they're launching now. And their single course has a ton of content in it, and we got about half that content in. But as you know, it's not that it's overly difficult. It's just it can become tedious, right? So it is something like 78 videos or something like that. And we're using a Presto player with LifterLMS, and on this particular one, we don't have to leverage the advanced videos features. So we just let the videos play and use them as resources. So it's worked out really well. That was a big ramble on. Sorry about that. We have input from Jeff here. Jeff, welcome to the call. Jeff says, I'm working through some issues in my data flow between LifterLMS and SCORM content and my LRS. Okay, so let's get some folks up to speed on what some terminologies are, first of all. LifterLMS is a learning management system. So LifterLMS, learning management system. SCORM is a type of file package usually in a zip file that contains learning content, but it's usually dynamic learning content. It's a special kind of e-learning content package delivery, and LifterLMS can play it, but we use a third-party tool to do that called GrassBlade. Typically, we use GrassBlade, and LRS stands for Learning Record. So GrassBlade by itself allows us to play SCORM content with LifterLMS. This is big news, right? Because you're an enterprise corporation and you're paying $500,000 a year for an e-learning website, this is the episode. This is the Ask Me Anything call you should probably come to, because we can take that SCORM content and we can put it into a regular website and make it play. Making it play is one thing. Having it sync the results of the course, the quizzes, or activities to your LifterLMS menu is another thing. And that's what the Learning Record Store does. It's a third-party site that you would subscribe to. It connects via API to LifterLMS or to your WordPress website, and it reports the activities in the SCORM package through the LRS, through the Learning Record Store, back to LifterLMS's reporting feature. So it says here, I'm not seeing any course progress coming back to the learner dashboard when I test. Any tips or settings I am missing? Jeff, a lot of times what is actually happening is what was requested in the course authoring software. So if you used Articulate, if you use Captivate, if you use Rise, whatever you use to make that course, typically in the export process, there'll be a checkbox for completions. Do you want the SCORM package to autocomplete when finished, or do you want it to not autocomplete when finished? And so that can be a tick situation. If you're using GrassBlade to put that SCORM package in, though, one of the settings in GrassBlade is to activate that Mark Complete button. So you could still, one of the number one things that people with SCORM want to do is they want SCORM to run the whole thing. And so they'll say, oh, I don't want that Mark Complete button. That's a distraction. I want people to finish the course and have it autocomplete. And that's typically the setup that people use. But when you add the SCORM package to your GrassBlade screen, there is the option in there for Mark Complete function, for the Mark Complete button to reappear. So if your SCORM package does not have autocomplete factored in, you could have that Mark Complete option checked in the GrassBlade window. And he says that's enabled and the LRS is showing completed. So then the next question is, if the LRS shows it completed, but LifterLMS in the reporting does not show it completed, you may have a caching issue. So one thing that you can do is purge the cache on the website and refresh. The other thing to know is, in any case when you're using an LRS, if there's an auto completion that finishes in the screen, that completion's not going to register until at least that first page is refreshed or recycled, because it goes out to a third party and comes back. So there has to be a refresh to see it. The other thing, and this might be something that might be worth showing, Emily, is if you're not seeing up to the moment information and reporting for your students, there is a student cache that you can flush in the settings. That could be applicable in the situation too.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's in the status. Is that in the status menu of LifterLMS?
Yeah, I can show that. So
that would be perfect.
Right here, LifterLMS status, we have tools and utilities, and then there is, let's see, this is progress cache, student progress cache. The LifterLMS reporting doesn't always update immediately because there's so much data in the back end of the website that if it was always updating immediately, the website would be significantly slower. So sometimes if you're looking for the most up-to-date reporting and you're not seeing it, checking the student progress cache here, clear cache, will give you the latest data, especially if you have a website that does a lot of students with a lot of data, a lot of quizzes, a lot of courses. That will be something you'll want to do whenever you check reporting to make sure you have the most up-to-date stuff.
Yeah, and then without going too far off the rails, I try to keep a lot of our SCORM content. I'm not saying we don't discuss it here on the call, but I try to remember that normally people that come to this call are folks that are beginners, and SCORM is not an entry-level topic. But just confirm with me, Emily, are you seeing the Golf Explain screen?
Yeah.
So this is the screen where we actually upload the SCORM content. If I open up the admin menu, we're going to see XAPI has its own menu. I am in the all XAPI content screen, and I was on Golf Explained. So if I were to go into this edit screen, you're going to see that this is where, we upload the content, and then it gives us a short code that we can embed anywhere in the website, or you can use the block editor to add the grass blade block. That's not a problem. But if we go down here, you're going to see the activity ID, which is provided by the system when it's uploaded. We say where to launch the content, so I can launch it in a page, in a new window, or in a pop-up light box, right? So I have this one set to in page. And then this completion tracking. It says, enabled to allow completion tracking. You need to use MetaBox dropdown or XAPI content block to add the content and use GrassBlade LRS. This is GrassBlade that I'm showing you, a third-party plugin that allows us to play the SCORM package. So it's saying use GrassBlade LRS. So I would click this, and I don't believe this site is actually hooked up to an LRS. Could be, I forget. But then I would test the completion tracking. And then it would, I would put in the user ID and the content that I'm trying to track for. So I'm in one of the Golf Explain samples, and I would put in the user ID and I would submit it, and it would tell me if it was syncing or not. So that's one way to check the course completion function. The other thing to look at is in the GrassBlade settings. And again, I'm making huge assumptions here that we're in GrassBlade. There are multiple options to play SCORM in a WordPress website. It's just in my research, I found that GrassBlade is the most straightforward and easiest way to go. So I have GrassBlade. I'm going to go over to GrassBlade settings, and there is an LRS setup here, which is going to give me my endpoint, my API user, my API password. I am not afraid to show these settings on a live because these are all just demo settings. Anyway, they're not live. They don't go to anything. And then do I want to have secure tokens or not? As we go through, you see that there are content settings, right? So width, height, completion type. This is where we see that by default, we can hide the button. We can show the button on completion. We can enable the button on completion, or we can auto redirect on completion. And so in most cases, my clients hide the button, but we could say enable the button on completion. So that'll be a kind of a grayed out mark complete button. And then once you finish the SCORM package, that button will turn to its programmed color, typically blue, and then you would be able to select that. So there are a few different locations and settings in SCORM to make sure that things connect and work. But if you're showing the completion in the LRS, but not showing the completion in the reporting, I would try to flush the cache. I would flush the student cache that Emily showed us, and I would definitely refresh the site, possibly sign out, sign back in if you need to, go back to reporting and see if you see the required feature at that time. Other than that, my next thing to say would be fill out a support ticket. That's hard when I'm on this call and I got to say you fill out a support ticket. Here we go. We're back to an Ask Me Anything question. I'm just starting, and where should I start with Lifter? We do have an academy, and in the academy, we have this really cool course called Getting Started with Lifter. So that's a really good place to start out. But Emily, I'll defer to you. If you were thinking, hey, remember back when you were like brand new to it, where would you tell someone that was interested in having courses? Where would you tell them to even start to think?
Yeah, I would tell them the Academy is a great place, but what I like to do is spin up a LifterLMS demo site. You can find that on our website for $1. It's a 30-day demo site that we host the content for you. and it includes all the features of the LifterLMS Infinity Bundle. So that is something that's a really, really useful resource that I lean on all the time. I installed a plugin last night called Upsell Plugin and tried out the integration with LifterLMS. So I was just installing the tools, playing around with them, seeing if I could build what I want to build, and getting a feel for the backend of WordPress. So my recommendation is, if you're new to WordPress, take that WordPress beginner course and take the LifterLMS Getting Started course. I'll show you what those look like too. So .com, boom, boom. So we have a few courses available here. There is the official Quick Start course. This is the one that's recommended, and this one should only take a few hours. Like a bunch of 5-10 minute videos here to get you started and navigating the dashboard. And then there's also a WordPress Beginners if you're new to WordPress completely. Those two resources are really great. We also have a lot of hour-long tutorials and also longer tutorials, like 4-hour tutorials, creating a yoga website, creating a Udemy-like website. If you can find some kind of a website that you want to create, or at least identify some features of it, if you say, I want to use Elementor alongside LifterLMS, that's valuable, because you can go look that up. Elementor, LifterLMS, site build. You can find stuff on YouTube. If you want to use Divi and LifterLMS, you might find a resource on that. So just identifying what you know about what you want to build, looking that up on YouTube, getting your hands on it, trying it out, or checking out those courses if you want some fundamentals.
Cool. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves on today's call, I do want to say, thanks for coming to our Ask Us Anything call. And it's really great when you guys put questions up for us to be able to have something to talk about. But you do want to take advantage. If you are not currently a customer of LifterLMS and you're thinking you might want to be, you can get a 55% off coupon code by going to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. Go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. Again, that's 55% off on that one. All right. I feel like I'm getting caught up now. I feel like I'm doing okay. I want to welcome Stuart to the call. Stuart, I see ya. I shouldn't say it like that. There's a DJ on TikTok that I love. His name is DJ Lethal, and he's awesome. And he talks to people, and he goes, like he would say, Stuart. He would say, Stuart, I see ya. What it do? And I just love him. I think he's one of the best DJs ever. Anyway, Stuart's there. I do want to go back to Jeff for just a moment. He said that was enabled. The LRS was showing completed. He is using GrassBlade. And then he says he'll give it a try and let us know how it goes. So, and then he said, I got a dip. Thanks for the tips. So he came in early, got all his questions answered, and then abandoned us. I feel used, Emily. Let's jump into Stuart's question. It says, I am in the process of looking at setting up online courses and a forum. I have looked at different systems, but wow, is it confusing to know what to go for. Any advice, what to start with? Stuart, I empathize with you greatly. I started e-learning corporately. So I was using custom built LMS websites, things that were very clunky, very expensive, very specialized. And I was doing that on behalf of different corporations I worked for. And then I was like, well, hey, what does the course creator marketplace look like? How do people do this on their own? Obviously, I don't think that there's a bunch of do-it-yourself, working remote type people making online courses and buying $500,000 websites. So how do people make this happen, in a day-to-day? So I did the deep dive. I looked at different SaaS platforms. I looked at, quasi-corporate SaaS platforms, and I looked at individual SaaS platforms. So let's just throw a couple names out, because if you're doing the research, these are some of the names that you've probably already come across. There's Bridge, Learn-Upon, SumTotal, Blackboard, Chalkboard, Moodle. Moodle's a big one. Moodle is open source, just like WordPress is open sourced. So Moodle is a big one. A lot of the custom developed, really expensive learning management systems the custom developed ones are largely based on Moodle. Someone will take an open source platform and they'll reskin it and they'll repurpose it, and then they'll sell it for $500,000. I keep saying $500,000 because I think that's funny. I know a company that paid $500,000 for a website. And so And so that'll happen. If we go into the more individual type SaaS platforms, you're going to see Kajabi, Udemy, Teachable, things like that. And then if you get into the WordPress space, you're of course going to see LifterLMS. We're kind of at the top of the search index for a lot of that stuff. There's also LearnDash, Tutor LMS, Sensei. There's what is good? WP Course something or another. There's a ton of them. There's hundreds, and I understand the frustration that can come from trying to shop for the right LMS. The perspective at LifterLMS, just so you know, is one of our missions is to democratize learning. We like to give people the easiest, best package to get their content up and at least have a proof of concept or a sample training that they can share with people. We also include the membership controls and the learning content controls all in one platform. So what that means is you don't have to have one plugin that has courses and lessons management in it and then still have to figure out, how do I attach a payment gateway? How do I get members to enroll in my course? How do I, connect this to any other tool in my website? LifterLMS kind of comes prepackaged with membership management, with add-ons, has the ability to do the e-commerce side of it and manage your course and lessons. So once I found LifterLMS as a customer, I had no impetus, no inspiration to go and look anywhere else. But because I work with LifterLMS, I had to educate myself on what some of these other platforms were like to use. So everything's got its own use case. I don't think you'll find anyone at LifterLMS that would talk you out of using some other plugin if you chose it. But we are very, very confident that in most cases, LifterLMS is the best learning management system you can select. And for forums, because we're talking about a forum, you have a lot of third-party choices that you can make. And your definition of a forum is going to define what you choose to use. For instance, LifterLMS has an add-on called Social Learning, which creates a discussion for every course, and everyone that is enrolled in that course has access to that discussion. So that might be your definition of a forum. If you're looking for more of a, old school BBS type of forum, well, then maybe you're looking for bbPress, which we integrate with right out of the box. So even our free core plugin would integrate with bbPress. So you could use that. There's premium tools like BuddyBoss out there. BuddyBoss has groups and forums and news feeds and all kinds of stuff in it, but that might be a little overkill for you if you're just getting started. So to me, it's really important to talk about use case, expectations. Obviously, budget comes to mind, right? Do you want to pay for stuff, or you're looking for open source freeware to use? And then what is your actual proof of concept? Do you have 15, 25, 50 people that are going to jump into this platform and be active right away? Because if you have a forum and there's no activity in it, it just becomes kind of a boat anchor in your website. So I usually advise people to have some activity in their website before they launch a forum. Emily, I rambled on. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that makes sense. I think you covered all the options available. For sure. You got free bbPress, paid BuddyBoss, LifterLMS Social Learning. They all kind of address a little bit different circumstances.
Yeah. The use case is big for me. I remember use case used to be our phrase for like weeks on end. We kept talking about use case, but forums definitely falls into that. And I have personally made the mistake of building the Taj Mahal of websites and having no audience to see it. That is, that's a hard road to go. It is much easier to put out a course, even if you put it out as a free sample, just to get people into it, see if they consume it, see what their feedback is, and then add a paid feature, and then, kind of organically grow your project and your community and get some momentum behind it, so that when the site has some life to it and you add these premium features, it tends to have better adoption and a higher success rate. It's really difficult to grow something that's flashy, but with no activity in it. It's really hard to get people to be the first people that jump in that use it. I mean, even Facebook started out, we've all seen the movie Social Network or whatever that was with, Mark Zuckerberg really just had here's two chicks, which one's hotter? Like, that's how Facebook started out, right? So it's like, it didn't start out as this giant thing with groups and fan pages and corporate pages and marketing and all that. It didn't start out that way. It started out very organically and then grew with momentum. Stuart gives me a smile face. I must have said something that was good. All right. And Abraham says, thanks, LifterLMS Academy. All right.
LifterLMS Academy.
Thanks, LifterLMS Academy. All right. Now, believe it or not, Emily, we do have questions. One of them was from Jeff, and we already answered Jeff's question. That was about SCORM. But this other one is kind of related to a question we started to answer. And let me put it in here, and I'm going to say, I'll just call it a pre-question. How about that? All right, and we'll throw this up. Many thanks, Kurt and Emily. Great advice. Stuart, no worries. That's why we're here. Emily and I continue to do this, even though we have our own agencies, because we kind of believe in it, right? It's good stuff, and it's the more we help other people succeed, the better the whole thing is, the whole ecosystem. So no worries. It's awesome to be able to serve you where you're at. There it goes. Pre-question. What are the advantages of building a learning platform on WordPress as opposed to, and it says self-hosted platforms like Kajabi, Teachable, and many more? Those are actually hosted platforms, not self-hosted platforms. WordPress would be the example of self-hosting, like it's mine, I own it, self-hosted. Hosted examples like Kajabi, Teachable, and many more mean that you are basically subscribing to, or the way I sometimes say it, is renting space on somebody else's platform. So somebody else's platform, they're in control of the overall look and function and performance of what your users get to see. Now, from a very positive perspective, and hopefully Emily feels the same way as I do on this. I'm pretty sure we do. I don't think you're going to hear a disparaging word from us on like, well, this sucks and that's horrible and that's whatever. Everyone's got their own use case, and there's certain reasons why people go certain directions. In fact, people in the LifterLMS community, myself included, have sample courses on Udemy or some other platform somewhere. So sometimes they're a good test market. Sometimes they're a good tool to try something on. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to be an expert in LifterLMS and WordPress, I kind of need to know how these other platforms work too. So I've got a client that uses Kajabi, and I can jump into the back of Kajabi and look at stuff and look at code and look at how things work so that I can answer these questions better and more fully for you. The biggest advantage, I think, for hosting on WordPress is kind of a twofold advantage, but it comes all in the same thing. It's open sourced, right? So I host it, I own it, right? That's kind of a weird thing to talk about, ownership. I own the site, I own the content in the site, I own the user activity in the site, I own it. So it's mine. Everything in the site I own. And then the other part of that is flexibility. Because it's self-hosted, I have the flexibility to make this site do whatever I need this website to do. Now, I say that, and I scare myself when I say it, because I have clients that literally think a website should do anything that they envision, see, want, whatever. Like some of the conversations I have with people are bordering on insanity sometimes. But if we're realistic, if you look at a Kajabi website and then you look at someone else's Kajabi website and you look at a third Kajabi website and a fourth Kajabi website, you're going to start to see a lot of similarities. You're going to start to see, oh, these are all built on templates. These are all built on certain structures and certain strategies. Now, that said, they do use best practices, and some of those strategies are an advantage to be able to participate in. But if you build in WordPress, you choose your own theme, choose your own appearance. You can build things with page builders that are completely and any information. Is that near you?
I have a fire truck in the background. Your voice sounds a little drowned out, though. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that was the fire truck. I didn't know if the fire truck went down my street or your street. It got loud.
Oh yeah.
Wow, your microphone picks up good there. I really thought I had a fire truck on my own street, which would be scary because I moved into this new neighborhood 2 weeks ago, and I'd really hate to see a house burn down next to me, or be in the house when it's on fire. But we digress. To me, that's the major benefit. The other thing, and this is a little bit off the beaten path, because if you're a course creator and you're making one project, that's awesome. That's what you're thinking. But I come at this from an agency perspective. And so when I come at my projects from an agency perspective, what I want to know is, what is my buy-in level and what am I able to sell it for? Right. And so if I was in the marketplace of, and let's include all of them, right? So let's look at Squarespace, Wix, Shopify, Kajabi. If I was in the business of helping people launch on those platforms, I could only really resell those accounts. Each one of those is like an independent account. So I have to keep reinvesting to redo. Whereas if you take a look at the Infinity bundle with LifterLMS, I pay for it once and I can make as many websites as I want. A lot of hosting packages. I can host multiple sites for what some people would pay to host one. So if you're really sharp shopping for your hosting and looking at the cost of your software, open source and ownership go a long way. What are your thoughts out of the box?
I think the main benefit of going with a hosted platform is that you don't have to do as much maintenance on it. You don't have to worry about which plugins are going to conflict with what, or updating your hosting, or paying for like 5-10 different pieces. You got your Lifter piece, your piece that goes. You're going to have a payment gateway regardless, but you have to set up all this stuff yourself. You have to learn how to use WordPress, and then you have to update it over time with individual components that might change over time. So the manageability of the number of moving parts that you'll have on a WordPress website, that's the biggest reason for me to go over to a hosted platform, or recommend somebody go over to a hosted platform. I've often recommended my clients who are first getting started, who have a lot on their plate and they're just looking to prove some concepts. If they're willing to say, hey, I am just testing the market to see if these offers are going to work, then I would recommend starting a Kajabi website. Even though they limit you to only 3 products, they limit you so much as to how much you can create and what you can do with what you create and how you can style what you create. However, there are some use cases where people are just getting started. They want a low maintenance project that they're willing to pay a little bit of a premium for in order to not do as much work setting it up. Then that's my recommendation, and less work maintaining it. But then when they're ready for something advanced, something industry specific, something that really suits their needs down to a T, then they're looking at a customized WordPress solution, which often involves LifterLMS, especially for projects that have any custom development.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to mention at this stage of that conversation, look at what you would be spending. So if you're looking at Kajabi, and last I saw it was, they had a $79 a month for the first 3 months or something, but typically it's about $240, $250 a month to have an active Kajabi site. So if I were to take that budget and hire, an Emily, a Kurt, someone off the experts list at LifterLMS, and even get really creative with some of the hosting options that are out there. I see WP Tonics in the chat right now. WP Tonics is a WordPress hosting company. So what Emily was saying there about extra tools, most of those extra tools come with the hosting at that resource. And so when you say, wait a minute, for $79 a month, I could have WordPress hosting, access to LifterLMS, access to a payment gateway, access to a CRM tool, access to a scheduling tool, access to support, and the hosting covers the updates of the plugins and the core WordPress installation. Well, then that kind of takes that maintenance thing out of the picture for you, and you get more of what you want from the get-go. The downside is you got to know what you want, right? If you go to a company or you hire an expert, like if you hire I'm not going to say myself. Let's say you hire any prescribed expert on the LifterLMS experts page. Typically, it's going to be $100 to $150 an hour, to work with these people. You got to know what you want. You have to have your content ready. If you are paying $150 an hour to basically have a conversation and dream build with somebody, that can get expensive pretty quickly. So, knowing what you want, having your content ready, having images, having branding available, even if it's just a style guide with a logo and some color selection, that's enough to start getting in and building something that's representative of what you want. And if you shop hard enough, you will find affordable deals and things that make sense for you and get the benefit of the open source flexibility. Other people, to Emily's point, again, it all comes down to use case. Maybe you just want to get something up on Udemy and sample a course, and Udemy's free. If you don't mind going through the hundreds of spam messages that'll come through publishing on Udemy, then Udemy might be a great option for you. Squarespace, there's a ton of options in Squarespace. There's a ton of options in Wix. Again, when you start getting into either Squarespace or Wix and you want to add courses and you start wanting to add functionality to those sites, you'll be in the add-on marketplace. And if you don't do your due diligence and shop in the add-on marketplace before starting the project, you won't really have an idea of what your budget's supposed to be going into it. A lot of the add-ons in that space can become costly. So you want to take a look at those options too. Right on. I feel like we're killing that topic, but it's a good topic, right? Because there's a ton of reasons to go either way. I mean, it really comes down to preference and use case. Do I want to worry about updates? Do I want to worry about my hosting? Do I want to worry about stuff like that? But what I do like about a self-hosted solution is, let's say, and I'm just being crazy, Emily. Let's say that I have a project, I launch it as a proof of concept, and it's got 10 students. And the site works really great on 10 students. And then all of a sudden I got 100 students. Now out of those 100 students, I maybe get 10 or 15 referrals for enterprise sales that could add 1,000 or 2,000 users to my site. And this is very realistic. This can happen, especially if you're into the continuing education market. So if you're in the continuing education market and you start adding enterprise clients that are bringing 500, 1,000, 10,000, like I said earlier in this call, we've got a client that is looking at possibly 5,000 users a month coming through their website. If you were to put that onto a SaaS platform, you have to read the fine print, because a lot of the fine print is going to say you're limited to so many courses or so many users or so many active users in a month. And then if you go over that, your costs for the bandwidth for the hosting goes up exponentially. If you are self-hosted and you're on WordPress and you suffer unbelievable growth and success, it's not as much as a penalty for you in that situation, because right out of the chute, companies like LifterLMS or LearnDash or others, they don't penalize you for the amount of courses, the amount of administrators, the amount of instructors, the amount of lessons. That's all unlimited. The only thing that you really suffer a limit for is the actual hosting and bandwidth. Like you got to remember, a learning management system, especially one that's coupled with a CRM or social tools, becomes a really heavy website on a server. And so if you put in thousands of people trying to leverage that content consistently, you put a lot of burden on the server. And at that point, you need to expand your server's capacity. But to go from a $50 a month to a $75 a month to $120 a month to $250 a month in hosting based on these exponential growth patterns is a nearly pain-free experience in most hosting situations in today's marketplace.
Right.
That was a long answer.
Well, and at that point in your business, you're going to have the financial resources to support it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, you and I seemed to have a lot of conversations around hosting video for your website. And a lot of folks were like, oh, I want to go into Wistia, I want to go into Vimeo, or I want to go into, all these things. And Vimeo is a great solution. It's a wonderful solution until you hit their benchmark where they say, oh, you're definitely a for-profit corporation and we need more of your money. Like when you get up to a certain bandwidth of playing video with them, that bill goes from very affordable to, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting that this month. But you have to know the small print. You have to know what you signed up for. And it's one of the reasons I'm really big in some of the open source resources, and not just open source. I got to say it in a way that makes more sense. Open source and unlimited. I hate to say unlimited because there's always something catching, but like I said, LifterLMS, unlimited courses, unlimited instructors, unlimited this, unlimited that. You get into like bunny.net instead of Vimeo. And with bunny.net, you pay for the bandwidth that you use, but it's at a very, very, very low rate. So it's very consistent.
Right. I do run an instance on bunny.net. That's like the one that I use for my hosting videos. And you can use something like a Presto player to add these to the back end of your WordPress website.
Yeah.
My most common recommendation for people who are looking for something that works the smoothest as possible with LifterLMS is going to be something like Vimeo, because it integrates with all the tools LifterLMS has to offer. However, bunny.net is one of those pay-as-you-go style, pay-as-you-use views kind of style, and you can store your videos in multiple different locations. So I use it for like cloud storage of all of my digital assets for my business, for my personal use, and backups and stuff like that, to have something on the cloud. And then I also use it for my video distribution. And a really nice thing about bunny.net is that you can choose regions on the planet where you want to store your videos. They have these data centers all over the world, and you can choose which exact data centers you want to store your videos at. You store them in multiple places so that it's faster to serve these videos to people in different regions. So if you're all over the United States, but you're not really anywhere else in the world with your customer base, you can store on like the 4 storage options within the US, and people will get the videos closest to them, so they'll load quick. All kinds of options depending on what kind of video hosting you want to go with, but you do want to consider, does this video hosting work with the other tools I have in the stack? Which video hosting is the best for what I have in the stack? These are the questions you're not going to be asking when you're building a Kajabi or a hosted website. But when you are building in WordPress, you're going to want to ask some of these more specific questions and make sure that the tools for your business are as interchangeable as possible.
This whole conversation drives me back to like, I used to mentor technicians in different spaces, automotive, power sport, marine, things like that. And they would consistently talk about, warranty pays this much and customer pay pays that much, and stuff like that. And I would have to remind them, look, your job as a technician, as a human being working for a living, your job is to do the least amount of work for the highest amount of pay, right? And your employer's job is to try and get the most amount of work from you for the least amount of pay, right? So obviously there's a conflict there, and you have to kind of figure that out. When you play around in the SaaS marketplace away from open source, you are playing in a marketplace whose business model is to give you the least amount of performance for the highest amount of subscriber funding they can collect from you, right? Because you're subscribing to something. You never own it, you just rent it. So their job is to give you the least amount of acceptable performance for the highest fee possible. And when you get into a source like open source with WordPress, the software is free. So now you negotiate the hosting that suits your use case the best. And that to me that's kind of the winner. I mean, I've been on some really budget-oriented hosts, and I've been on some premium hosts, and I can see the difference. It's night and day. What's cool about it is, as the course creator, as the site owner, you're in complete control of that. You're not having to try and play bargain or beg with some SaaS platform to give you extra resources. Jonathan at WP Tonic says I'm on fire today, and I feel like I am. I feel like I might be crossing the line and being a little too persuasive. But I am. I'm really sold out to, I wouldn't be hosting the WordPress meetup in my town if I wasn't sold out to WordPress and the benefits of WordPress. I will say there are some applications that are so large, so huge, so much traffic, so much bandwidth that at some point you go, does this really need to be on WordPress, or should this be its own purpose-built platform, custom-built thing? But let's be real. People coming to this call aren't in that mind space. They're not in that marketplace. People coming to this call are like, hey, I've got this great idea and I was thinking about making a course. What's the most economical, efficient way for me to get that online? And for me, I'm a really big sellout to the WordPress arena, and of course LifterLMS. All right, what else can we talk about? I didn't even look. I should have looked. Was there anything new released for us in the last week or so, Emily?
I
haven't looked I haven't looked on the general channel in a bit. We've got a new version of Stripe.
Yeah, there was something interesting we highlighted on a Feature Friday, which was that there's now a button on certificates. This is going to be in the core plugin that says get a shareable link. Whenever you enable sharing, there's now an option to get the shareable link, which would be engagements, awarded certificates. If I view one of these.
Like instead of copying down the address bar, there's actually a button to copy it?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's convenient.
Right there. And this was actually a contribution from a user. So someone who used the plugin, uses certificates, wanted that feature, coded it, contributed it, and now it's in the core plugin for everybody.
Awesome.
And it feels like it feels small, but it's convenient.
I think that's the stage that we're in for a lot of products though right now. If I was going to be like, because I get asked this question a lot with the different audiences and different shows and stuff that we participate with. People are like, oh, what do you think the downfall of WordPress is? Or what do you think what do you think our biggest obstacle is? And it's like, I don't know, we're 44% of the internet. We're 20 years old. I think we're doing pretty good, but then there are if you really dive into it, there are some user quirks like, oh, this menu seems kind of hidden, or this button doesn't really do what I thought it would do. And I think that's where we're at. I think there's going to be these little micro changes, micro swaps that just increase the user experience a bit. But I'm not sure there's too much really more big stuff coming in the very near future, unless you're following some other influencer's YouTube channel right now.
I think, sometimes there are new products coming out, but I see a lot of integrations going on right now. I think that the products are at a really cool place in the WordPress ecosystem. There are some newish features coming out, but it does feel like there's been a bit of a stall lately.
The integrations are interesting because, little known fact, if someone wants to propose an integration with LifterLMS, it typically comes through my email, and I get to see some things. And there's people all over the globe trying to do something cool with LifterLMS somehow, some way. And then one of our users actually posted on our Facebook last week, or maybe it was this week, the makers of Fluent CRM. And I know this is going to drive you crazy, Emily, right? Because you were like, they're trying to corner the market on all of it, because they had the CRM forms. The Fluent forms, Fluent support, and then Fluent Fluent booking, right? So it's like all these things, right? So that walled garden sensation of, oh, this one company's trying to do all these things. But my understanding is they're now working on some kind of a social platform to come out. So we've already had a request from one of our users to create an integration with that. What's interesting about the ecosystem with WordPress and companies like LifterLMS is you'll look at our add-ons and you'll assume that we're actively building integrations to all of these things. That add-on list from our perspective is incredibly short in comparison to what LifterLMS will integrate or work with. And that's something I actually consider Emily to be the expert on. WP Fusion, Zapier, different automation tools, Automator WP, but even tools like Fluent CRM. If you have Fluent CRM Pro, it automatically senses if your website has Lifter LMS and integrates with it directly without you having to even think about an integration. It just does it. I believe SureCart has a similar thing. There's a few other products out there that automatically integrate with Lifter LMS. And so as these products come to market, they'll email us and say, "Oh, we built this integration in." And typically, to really see where that stuff is, if you look at lifterlms.com/recommended resources, you'll see a list of a lot of the tools that Lifter LMS is super friendly with and plays well with. Tools like Paid Memberships Pro. You see that plug right there? Paid Memberships Pro?
Yeah, for sure. I think
You know what I haven't unpacked yet?
What's that?
I can't find my Lifter LMS hat.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I'm out of uniform.
Like at what?
I feel like I'm out of uniform.
Oh, out of uniform. Yeah, I'm not really ever in uniform. I did order a shirt last week with some new Lifter merch, but yeah.
Did you? Okay, I saw you live last week, like Friday night, or something like that, and you were doing something that looked like Lifter LMS rocket in a circle cloud or something. Is that what you ended up getting?
That's what I got.
That was pretty cool looking.
Thank you. Yeah, I got like bubbles and stuff going. It was kind of weird.
Folks, that's the huge difference between Emily and myself. Emily is brilliant, and I'm the missing link. I'm the missing link when it comes to graphics. I am not gifted at all. So I have people on my team as an agency that do the graphics, and I can tell you what looks good and what doesn't look good. But to invent the graphic is not my sweet spot. So yeah. I've always been impressed. I think you made some of the shirts I've already worn.
Yeah, I think so. Like a lot of them are like that simple Lifter logo on like a color that complements it. But there are some, like, I've been making some crazy ones, and on the start of that stream, I showed all the crazy ones I've been making. And but I hadn't always been decent even with that graphic design stuff. It's been a whole journey to like spend time on it and work on it, work my way up to even where I'm at now, which isn't perfect. Like I don't get the whole color theory stuff. I don't work that into what I do. I don't work in like sizing, spacing, white space stuff. I just kind of like spend time with it. So there's still a lot of room to improve there for me.
Yeah, I will say if clients give me the logo and a color palette, I go to town. I can make a really awesome website. I'm really good. I consider myself to be pretty good with design elements, spacing, white space, using, there's best practices that I've come to get really acclimated to. But like I said, it's the visualization, the creativity of making a logo from scratch, or coming up with some kind of cool AI graphic that communicates 3 different things in one picture. Those are the things where my brain just doesn't come together on it very well. But I'm old. I get to say that a lot. I'm old. You're young. All right, let's go into this one real quick. Lifter LMS Try. If you listen to us talk on a near weekly basis and you still haven't figured out how to try Lifter LMS and give it a shot, I encourage you to go to lifterlms.com/try, lifterlms.com/try. For $1, you get a 30-day hosted example of Lifter LMS that's fully populated. The website comes with sample courses, sample content, sample users. It gives you a visual representation and the experiential benefit of looking at Lifter LMS at its potential, what it could do for you if you had users and content and stuff. And so it's a really, really good way to go. It's only $1. You get it for 30 days. And any courses that you build within it, you can always export for when you put Lifter LMS into your own website. So you get to use the course builder. You get to experiment with putting your courses in. You can treat it like your own website. You can add a plugin if you want. You can add users to it. One of the questions that came in through support just this week was, hey, I bought the trial, but how do I share the trial with the rest of the people in my office? And I was like, add them as users. Just, you can make them administrators, you can make them subscribers, students, whatever you want. And so you get to experiment with the site and experience a fully populated, ready to go website for $1. And that's a pretty rocking great deal. I think there's a lot of people that I try to say it's like going to Best Buy to buy a new laptop. You walk in, you go, oh, I'm just going to buy a new laptop today. And then you start looking at laptops and you're like, okay, how many gigs of RAM, how many SSD, hard drive? And then you look at 10 different things and then you get sensory overload and you can't make a good decision. I feel like shopping for an LMS is very similar. I feel like you look at this product, that product, the other product, this one, and you start in your brain to kind of blend the features together and you lose focus on what it is that you really wanted to develop or what was important to you when you started the shopping experience. And I think that the trial is one way to make it very visual, very real, and help you decide if Lifter's for you or not for you, because we're very clear that it's not for everybody. But for most people doing a course creation exercise, Lifter LMS is a great fit. Did we get any more questions or comments to come in? I even put up there, put in your questions and comments, but we don't have that. Jonathan wants to know what hat to buy. I don't even know what hat to buy. I like the dark gray one. I like just the plain dark gray one. I love it. The next thing that we should probably talk about then, I guess, is the coupon and get ready to close out for the day. Is there anything else you can think of, Emily?
No, that should be good.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go in here, slap that coupon in there again. Folks, this is your chance. If you've come to this call or you're watching the replay, you can go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. lifterlms.com/AMA-gift and get 55% off. So I think on the web, are we still doing 50% off at the website?
Yeah.
So it's an additional 5%. But I think this is the best deal we got going. 55% off for coming to the Ask Me Anything call. I'd love to see you get a bonus if you actually asked us a question, but you don't. It's lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. I think that's going to start to wrap things up for us. Emily, what's a good way to get a hold of you if that's something that somebody wants to do?
Yeah, just go to YouTube, look up WP Course Guide or WPCourseGuide.com. That's where I've got all my YouTube content and all of the resources I make about WordPress.
Perfect.
How about you?
Big shout out to the folks that came to the call today. It was great. Great seeing Jonathan with WP Tonic join us. Stuart, Abraham, Jeff. I know Jeff blazed on the call, but maybe he'll watch the replay and see that we thanked him for coming. If you folks don't come or don't supply questions, we got to work twice as hard to make this entertaining. So thanks for coming. Thanks for participating. If you want to get in touch with me off channel, I am on LinkedIn almost every day. And I'm the only Kurt Von Onen on LinkedIn. So it makes me really easy to find. My name's on the screen, Kurt Von Onen at LinkedIn. And my company is Manana No Mas. With that, folks, we are going to bail out of here and wish you guys a great week and say that we will see you next week. Have yourselves a wonderful day.